Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode. And it's pretty late. I couldn't sleep. I have a lot of anxiety. But what better way to use my time than to learn and fuel my anxiety more with this LeetCode grind? So the next thing that we're working on is this encode and decode strings, and it's premium on LeetCode, so we're going to NeetCode, the Chinese website. And I do love Chinese people. Jiao, add oil to this because it's 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. I'm not even Chinese, that's the thing. As far as I know. I could be part Chinese. My mom's Filipino, but she doesn't look like every other Filipino. She looks kind of not like, maybe like, I don't even know. I need to take a 23andMe. But we're going to get started here. And we're going to look at designing an algorithm to encode a list of strings to a string, where the encoded string is then sent over the network and is decoded back to the original list of strings. And this is kind of interesting to me because before, in all of the arrays and hashing questions, I was looking at mostly hash sets and dictionaries for the primary data structure. So I'm like, why all of a sudden does it make sense to just add characters to an existing string or the resulting string that we create as what we're going to submit? So we're going to figure that out by playing with our food in VS Code. But first we have to type what we think the answer might be for this first encode statement to see really what it does. So we have res equals this empty string, noted by these 2 quotation marks. Then we're going to loop through s, which is all the characters in, actually no, it's all the strings in the strings list. Then we're going to take the result and add it. We're going to take the result and we're going to add every string in the strings list to this result to get this encode method, just to make this long string based off every single value in the input array or in the input list. I keep messing that up. List, array, it's kind of the same, but list is less internal data type specific, because you can have a list of numbers or a list of integers, I should say, or a list of strings or a list of objects. In this case, they are strings. And we have the encode character that we want to plug in. So we'll do a semicolon just for fun. They have it as a colon, semicolon. You can do a pound sign. You can do anything you want, really. It could be a string in itself. But we're also going to add a string of the length of s, which is the current string that is being looked at within the loop iteration. And then we're also going to add the current string in the loop iteration itself. Not self, but but just the string that is being looped through, the one that's being looked at in the moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to return the result. And I'm not super sure what string length s does in particular, so I'm going to take this function and I'm going to play with it in VS Code. This is a new strat that I haven't really seen people do, but I'm going to do it myself because I want to see the result and understand it. Both speaking about it and then also running it with the debugger. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do some of this so that it stops every time it runs through the code, and I'm going to copy this input statement and just run it here. We're going to encode strings. Just quick and easy. I like to have it laid out like this personally, and also I don't know how to use the console very well, so I need to learn how to do that too. But it'll all come. I have no doubt in my mind. NeetCode love you. I love you, whoever's watching this. Myself. Okay, we have res. It's empty. We add 4. And then we have code next. Whoa. Whoa. That's kind of cool. What if this was lints? Or... So what's happening is it's just adding the number as an encode method. Coders, baby. Oh my god. Coders, baby cakes. I love Ice Spice. You Soldier Boy, tell him. Alright, let's see what happens. If it does what I think it does, it'll list all the numbers of string length. This will list all, or I guess the length of this as an integer. So we have 5 lints. That is 5 characters long. Coders baby cakes is 15. I love Ice Spice. That is... What is that? 23? Is that really 23? Oh no, is that... Oh, that's like the length of... That's weird. I want to see this. Five, 15, 13, 23. No way that's 23 characters. Is this really 23 characters? Wow, that's actually 23 characters. That seems so weird. Okay, so I like that. We'll get rid of all this. And we'll get to this. What happens here? I'll go print res. We're just doing some little print debug action. Okay. So that's just how we encode it. Makes sense. Good enough. Then we can add our next function. Of decode. And what we're going to do here will be a little bit different. If I can find the whatever I'm looking for. This. So we're plugging in S, I believe. Or we have strings, right? Ooh, excuse me. And we're trying to decode it. And I think what's tricky here is with the encode and decode values is that when we have something tricky like this where the encode and decode algorithm of this has an encoding type character that is the same as what exists in the string within the list, that's where things can get confusing when there is a decode method involved. Because if you're doing it brute force and you have, say, a given decode method, and you're saying, okay, every time, or like what is it? It's called a delimiter. If you have a delimiter that is a colon, because you are using a colon in this instance or a colon and a semicolon to delimit the strings in the list as they appear within a big string, it'll get confused when it gets to this one, where the delimiter is kind of the same, at least from my initial idea. But you can say, okay, we're looking for a colon followed by a semicolon, colon followed by a semicolon, and only then will we see colon, semicolon, colon, 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 semicolon. So that's weird. That's weird to me because it doesn't follow that classic notation, I guess, of the delimiter being colon, semicolon, like here. Because you have a colon followed by another. You have two colons back to back for this input and output. So that tells me that there's something magic, currently magic, about the string, of adding a string with the length of the character being appended to the end of each loop here, or at the beginning of each loop. So when we're looking at this decode statement, we have the result, and we have I that we're going to want to initialize as an empty list and 0. And basically, while I is less than the length of S, we're going to have to create another variable of J to set it equal to I. Not in, but I. And we're going to use this to iterate through every character in S. We're going to use this J value to iterate through every character in S. So while S, J, this is getting personal because SJ is my initials, we're going to look for when it's not equal to our delimiter character. And when this is the case, we can add 1 to j. And what this is doing is that, say at 0, when I is 0, it's going to be less than the length of s, which is, I guess, how is this method called? Encode then decode the same strings. Strings. Decode. Well, I don't know where string comes from. String is a single string. It decodes a single string to a list of strings. So we have one string. So this will be string here. There. I don't like how that's blue. Why is it that? Anyway, we have s, which is a single string. We could assume that it's the result of res. And we have the length of it, of this encoded string. So we have j equals I, which is initially 0. And while we'll start at the beginning of this encoded string, and while it doesn't, and when it starts to equal, I guess I'm getting my words wrapped up. I'm trying to say the same thing with like 3 different ways. So we have a conditional where if it's not equal to the delimiter, then we can go to the next position in the string, this encoded string. And we would do this instead of checking if it was equal. Like if while this was equal, I guess I want to think about it in the other way. While sj is equal to colon, we can exit the loop, but there would be nothing to make it iterate in the first place. So we need to check if it's not equal to this delimiter character. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look for the length. I guess not the length, but we'll take the length of int of the string from the position from the initial position, which would be 0 from the very start, to the j point, where j equals the encoder delimiter. Or not the encoder delimiter, but the character delimiter. And that will be the length of the string that we can place in the output. Then what we're going to do is we're going to append this section of the encoded string to the resulting list in order to decode the string, because we found the position using this loop to tell where the beginning and the end of the string that we're trying to put back into the list. So the way we do that is with s, the long string that we're looking at, and we have our j value plus 1 to tell us where to start, and then we have our j value plus 1 plus the length to tell us where to end. And I don't know why it's plus 1. Why is it plus 1? Why is it plus 1 here? So that's what we determined. We're slicing a string and a substring is being appended to a list result. The plus 1 is an offset to the starting index of the substring. Why do we need to offset it? Oh, it tells me because I had the question. The desired substring should start one character after the position J, so it is exclusive. It is an exclusive chop of the big string. I want to see what this looks like. But basically what we have going on is we have I, the new I, we found this character, this string in the thing, or we found this string within the big one, or we found this first instance of the string within the big string. And what we're doing is we're then setting the new I position, or just the new I position as we loop through once more through the rest of the big string. And setting that equal to the endpoint that we chopped from. And what will happen here is that this will loop over and over again until we've gone through every single existing string given our decode method. So we can return the result. And I want to test this decode method. And we'll keep iSpice in there. I want to decode, not encode the decode. I like that. All right, what we're going to do here is we're just going to go boom, boom, boom. I want to see this loop. J equals 1. While J does not equal colon. J. Okay, what? Okay. This is crazy awesome. This is crazy cool. Because we're doing this plus 1. We figured it out. We're doing this plus 1 so that it skips the number. Right? Because it's already so long. Or I guess not so long, but we have this extra character of string length S that we're going to skip. And within all of these encode methods, we have 2 characters in the delimiter. So we have 1 character and we have a filler character. But I don't think it matters as long as it's just 2 characters. I wonder if we can do it without, if we can do it as like a letter, like if that would matter. I don't think it would because, or I think it would matter because it has to be a non-integer within the string, I believe. We'll try it. But I want to look at what this does. All right, lints. Coder's baby cakes. I love Ice Spice. You soldier boy, tell him. And it works. Okay, this is the next test. Can this be a character? And I want to do a test case where it is a character that exists on both the back end and the front end of the characters in the strings list. So we'll try S if you guys confused. Okay. 5S lints. So it looks like slints. 5 scoters. That's funny. So what we get here, we count. Oh, what? It actually... Okay, we'll see if it works here. Because if it sees S, which will be... I'm curious to see. I just really don't know. Wow, what? It actually works? Wow. That's incredible. Wow, oh my god. That's so awesome. How does it do that? Seriously? Okay. This is cool. Because I didn't expect that at all. We have lints. We have Coder's baby cakes. I love Ice Spice. You, soldier boy, tell him. And we have S as the character. So I want to break this down in my brain to see why we're still able to delimit these with a character like this. So we'll just loop through this. So we have lints. And it goes to the number first, right? So it goes number, lints, number, S. When it sees the S, we say, okay, let's skip this. Then we go to Coder's baby cakes. All right, I want to break this. I will break this program if it's the last thing I do. So we have S, and we have strings length S. This better break it, because my hunch is if it sees the S prematurely, where it's like lints with 2 S's before the 15, then it's going to say, hey, we found the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Okay, we got to run this. We can encode. Oh, we broke it. We successfully broke it. Boom. So we have this. We have the length. And it doesn't like it. Because it starts with S, and we get a broken length because it sees the S right away, and it says, hey, let's loop through the 0th position to the 0th position where we have I going to loop through to J. And we just got it. So we can't have that. It has to have the string length first. And then we can put the character. So we have 2 things. One being a non-character within any of the list items. And a delimiter of any type plus the string. And we'll take all this yummy code and put it into our encode and decode functions as we do here, and we'll submit it. Okay, I don't have WeChat. Do I really have to do this? I don't want to. All right, we're just gonna watch the NeetCode video solution, and we're gonna get this Facebook interview. Let's do it.
Hey everyone, welcome back, and let's write some more NeetCode today. So today let's solve the problem encode and decode string. 25 list, a list of 75 comments. You want to take a premium to it. So we're given a list of strings, and we want to write two functions. We want to encode this list of strings into a single string, and you can kind of see that down here. We were given an input list of strings, lint code love you, and we want it to be a single string, such as this one in the bottom right.
Okay, that's what we came up with.
The option is that in our input, we could have any possible character in the inputs, not just limited to lowercase a to z. So the difficult thing is going to be, how do we create some kind of delimiter between
we got that vocabulary. Let's do this.
How do we know when one word ends and another word begins? That's kind of what we're going to be focusing on. So let's get into that solution. So suppose we were given two strings like this, neat and code.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now, back into the two original strings, one word and separate like this. What's going to separate character in? We have the first word, code, right? It's never going to actually show up in any words. What happens if we have a word, suppose this, and encode it? We're going to get something like this as the encoded string, right? And then when we split it, we're going to have three different words, neat, co, and de, but in the original you can see we only had two words.
No, this is what we came up with. This is what we figured out.
We're going to end up splitting this into three words, which is not what we wanted to do, right? We want to transform it back into what was originally given to us. So having just a single special character delimiter is not going to work, because that delimiter could actually show up in some of the words. Wouldn't it be nice if in the encoded string we somehow already knew how many characters would go in the first word, characters, encode it back into the first word, then take the next 5 characters, would basically be
it's not a very good
some kind of array,
encoding,
right? We're given this,
if you're talking about security, but
list of strings,
it's
and we want to encode it to a single string. We can, for every single word, basically have an integer, right? The first word is 4 characters, the next word is 5 characters, etc. But then where are we going to store somewhere?
Okay.
Not just put that number or word itself, integer, always at the beginning. There's always going to be an integer at the beginning.
That's what we found.
String is always going to start with an integer. That integer is going to represent what the length of the following word is going to be, but we're going to have a delimiter in between each of the characters of 4, which in this case is going to be pound. And that works because we're only going to read one delimiter. We're going to expect a single pound sign no matter what, right? So even if the first character here was a pound, it still works, because we're going to read an integer 4, read a single pound sign, and then say, okay, take the next 4 characters, even if they include pound.
There's something here that tells me, like, I didn't fully come up with the answer myself, but I've seen the pattern. I've had exposure to that. I've created some neural pathways to associate that double character delimiter and skipping past the first, and skipping past that delimiter position. I've made that association in my mind, so it's even not a complete loss,
integer, like 8
or waste time.
Characters next. So we're going to do exactly what we just did over here, having an integer 5 long. So this is how to decode sense would end into us. Okay, so now let's get to the reading it again. Let's form to decode this as well. So we're going to do this for every result. So encode was follow. So this time we're given a single string. So how are we going to decode? And I'm also going to have a pointer I, which is going to tell us what position that we're at.
It's a pointer.
While I is still in bounds,
that's a
we are
C
going to read
concept.
Character by character, basically decoding each
in Java,
string.
actually.
So when we start off, the first position that we're going to be at is going to be an integer, right? So what we want to do is we want to find the delimiter. We want to find the end of the integer. So we're going to have a second pointer j. Initially, it's going to be at I, and while the character at pointer j is not equal to the pound, meaning that we're still at an integer character, we're going to keep incrementing j by 1 and above. So we're going to keep incrementing until we get to that pound character.
That's what we
and then
thought.
Once
That's
we get to
what
the
we
pound
said.
character, we know string starting at index I, going all the way up until index j, but not including index j, right? So this portion is going to be the integer. Right now it's a string, so we want to transform it into, or convert it into an integer. We can do that in Python pretty easily. Just we have to read after j in order to get every character of the string. So because remember, j is at the delimiter character, so j plus 1 is going to be the first character in the string itself, and we want to go all the way until the end of that string. How do we get that? Well, right now we have the length of that string, so we can say j plus 1 plus length.
That's what we got. I like this a lot. It makes me feel really good that what I came up with, or what we came up with, if you feel like you
the result. So
contributed to this.
And do just that.
If anyone is watching
basically,
this,
each iteration of this loop is going to read
then,
one entire word, and
we
then
really
we're
did
going to go again, loop again, and read more words until we reach the end of the string. But
leave a
one thing
comment
we
if you
forgot
made
is
it
how
here
are we gonna
and you
update
want
our
to see a
pointer
live stream.
I?
I would be open
we just
to that.
read a single word, so now we want to start at the next word. How do we get that? Well, our pointer I is just going to be set to j plus 1 plus length, because this is actually not, this is going to be basically the beginning.
Okay.
We can go ahead.
I feel good.
It is pretty efficient, so I hope that this was
Thank you.